That's fine. It doesn't matter.
Okay, so today we're going to be chatting about a couple different things. I think, what do you want to do first, Steve? On your mind?
I had thrown out the idea of discussing investigations, but also liked your idea, so we'll see if we can fit both into this hour.
Okay, or, transition either way. We'll always have more work. So, investigations. One of the things you were talking before we sat down for this was, hey, maybe today we talk about investigations in our role-playing games and things like that. And I think, a lot of people, especially with what we've done so far, might be like, oh, well, D&D. My first thing when I think of investigations actually goes to L5R. I think that L5R, Legend of the Five Rings, for anybody who doesn't know, it has heavy roleplay elements, but a lot of the stuff in their source books and in their storybooks really dealt with how an investigation was run. And so it gave a good idea of like, oh, well, this is the pieces
one of the ideas that they did run with was that you would play Imperial. I think they called them magistrates.
Yeah, magistrates, Emerald Magistrate.
So you would be an Imperial Magistrate, but that setting for investigations was also a bit strange because it wasn't an evidence-based. It wasn't an evidence-based judicial system. At the end of the day, even if you had all the evidence that clearly implicated a person, all they really had to do was challenge against their honor anyone willing to contest their honor. But beyond that, the system had a nice set of rules for how to, not necessarily rules, guidelines on how to run
guidelines. I think that when the source books in L5R presented investigations, they did it in a way that was easy to consume, and it gave me a lot of ideas on how you can run an investigation to anything. But you know what I was thinking is, so you run investigations when you make D&D stories, right? There's people out there that just go, I'm going to make a story, and what's happening? I'm going to do this, and then it leads to that, and that's all they have. When you construct a story based on like that hero's journey, right? Or like tropes that exist in that genre that you're going for, fantasy, etc. Yeah. I wonder how many people run an investigation game, let's say in D&D, and when they do it, what they do is they actually go, you know what, I'm going to look at some Dick Wolf procedural shows, and I'm going to see what are the steps they use in that. Oh, I introduce a fake bad guy first that looks really, really guilty, but then you know what I mean? Like all these pieces, these tropes from how those stories are set up, and then incorporate them right into D&D or right into a role-playing story.
I think the pieces are good to have. The problem with a written procedural or even a investigation book or a comic book like Dick Tracy or something, if you write your adventure, if you're pre-planning your adventure the same way you would write a procedural, you fall short because you can't guarantee that Tony the Wizard is definitely going to use a spell that will help them do this one particular step. So when you're building it for D&D, if you're using skills or not, either way, you have to build multiple branches to interweave.
I mean, like the characters. Like so instead of going, what do I need to build? Like in an investigation for the what you start with when you say that, like, what do I need to build? Is instead of you go, I'm not going to think about all the pieces of the investigation. I'm going to, in my mind, commit the crime.
Yeah, commit the crime.
And then after that happens, I know who commit the crime, and now I'm going to create these tertiary characters that have different connections, and some of them dubious, that might.
It depends on what kind of investigation you're trying to set up.
And then and then be like, okay, well, so I know that this is dubious, and then I can go, okay, well, based on the things I've just made, what evidence is there? What false evidence can I give the characters? What right evidence can I give the characters?
Definitely, the thought process down the evidence is great. The other thing you have to consider, given that it is a magic-heavy setting. Even light magic D&D settings tend to be more heavy magic than
the real world.
The real world. And when you have access to things like divination magic, or if it's a murder investigation, you have access to speak with dead and things like that. People who commit crimes, especially if they commit high-scale enough crimes, also know that maybe not the exact spell exists, but that there are people who could come and talk with a dead person. So if you're going to murder someone and you don't want to get caught, or if you're going to steal a jewel and you don't want to get caught, you're going to probably take extra precautions. It doesn't necessarily mean that they have to be magical, but I think there's one spell that lets you see, like, inherently what was directly going around on within, like, a 30-foot radius of an item for the past.
Like Visionary and Hunter.
Kind of like a Visionary and Hunter. I believe there's a spell that does that. I would have to go back through the spells, but knowing that a spell like that exists, a person who's breaking in would definitely take extra precautions to cover their face. If they have access to magic, they might also disguise self. So they can look like someone completely different.
And then through the looking back into the item's history or whatever, and seeing that there's this person here with disguise self, you don't get the added benefit of then also seeing that it's a disguise self spell because you can't cast a spell in the past.
So through that particular line of thinking, you could literally, like you were saying before, create a false suspect.
Yeah.
So the person who steals the thing knows that this one person is openly coveted. So when he goes to do the robbery,
so that's another thing. Like a lot of people, like in their D&D, I guess maybe that's one of the tropes of D&D people enjoy. Is everything's black and white, good v evil.
It is a standard trope.
Very common, at least.
The one, sorry for cutting you off. Another one that I've seen though is chaos versus law.
Yeah, chaos versus law.
Those would be the two major ones.
And the thing that happens though is like, so. I like L5R because with L5R and the sense of honor and all of this, one of the things it adds is this you don't go outside of what your character does. Why? Because there's a strict set of rules that say that you can't, and that there's penalties if you do. If you're a chaotic evil character and you're like, I want to help them for no other reason than to be good, like there's a penalty that will happen.
Yeah.
Based on like this honor system and who you are and what you say you are and all that and your ancestors.
When we ran the game, that was something that our group actually did really well with it. But then when I ran it for another group, it wasn't as well interpreted.
Well, not just that, but that group it led the group to the infighting drama, which was in character and good, in my opinion. It led to something good.
The problem is it spilled out. But that isn't what we were going to...
That's a player problem. What I'm saying is the investigation part, like, going to this, you have to adhere to these things. Like, so in D&D, my problem would be, okay, so what I just did was I created this situation where a crime was committed and somebody used disguise self, and my players would just see themselves as goody-goods who are here for the righteous and all that, and then they do this investigation and they fall, and I leave possible evidence for them to uncover that this is actually not the case that's happening. Something else is happening they don't realize. But if they just jump down that and then convict the guy and then kill him, and then I reveal that they're guilty for the death of the player, or for the death of the NPC, that they convicted an innocent man and put him to death, there won't be as, like, they'll be like, oh, that sucks. But it never feels like in L5R you do that, or like Hunter. You find out that the person that you killed is an innocent person. Like, your character's morally devastated. Role-playing wise, you are broke down into a piece that's just blowing in the wind, waiting to be done.
A lot more of that is story and role-playing elements. So it comes down to how your DM and your players both.
But again, coming to D&D and high fantasy, it always seems like that one
thing is missing. It does fall off. What you're talking about makes me think of the time where I told the players very specifically the area they were in. Goblins were citizens. They were people. They weren't monsters. And then, even with that thought process in mind, and I hammered that point in over and over again, when they came across a bunch of goblins running away with a bunch of what looked like farming equipment, they immediately thought, those guys are pillaging a farm. We need to kill them. And after they did it, like 2 rounds after they finished marauding them, the people chasing those goblins down who were actually trying to kill them come onto the scene, and all of a sudden the players were really confused.
Well, see, this is the thing too, right? So what you just explained almost literally is you role-played people through an experience of racism. It's what it was. It is what, like, if somebody's out there going, racism doesn't exist. If they played through what just happened, the takeaway should be, I killed them and they were just farmers. Ooh, oh, racism does exist. Like, it just happened here in a little tiny biome.
Yeah.
But I was talking recently with some people, and one of the things that came up in the course of that conversation was, that, friendly monster races, I guess, kind of, like, why do you need to have that? Why is that a thing? Yeah, I know. My thing is, like, no, that adds a dynamicism to the game. But if you go to first ed, you go to second ed, there ain't no friendly goblin races in first ed. That's not happening. Unless the DM makes it. But, like, by design, they're bad, evil creatures. That is it.
That is true. There is a difference in the... Sorry, my phone was not turned down.
Difference in what?
There's a difference in the mindsets of the setting. Even though they are all high fantasy, in first edition and second edition, more so in first, the non-human races are in a state of decline. The idea is that we're coming into the age of man.
Of human, yeah.
Of human. So things like...
dwarves even, and elves, they're not what they once were.
Yeah, they were a declining race, which is, I think, part of... I can't say this with a 100% affirmative, but that's why they put things in like certain level caps where like a dwarf could only get to like 7th level fighter, where a human could go all 20, or those were things to represent that you're really supposed to play the human in that, which was kind of the feeling they went for with that edition. And now we're in 5th edition. People want to play whatever they want to play, so it does change the paradigm.
I can see how somebody who first played D&D might have a problem with like in the first D&D, there isn't going to be an investigation. There's no murder mystery.
Well, no, the system is probably the best suited to it in an open format, because in first edition there were no skills. You had your stats,
and then everything is just role played verbally. And
the idea was, and
this
this actually led to some gray areas and some very angry letters to the magazines. But back then, the idea was that if you, the person, had the skill or the knowledge, that means your character had the knowledge.
Okay, well, I will play with Steve over your house. Oh, we're in the basement? Okay, well, I'm bringing over my Encyclopedia Britannicas. And 1 second, I just need to figure out how to... we need to build a bridge across this. 1 second.
Bridges. Yeah, that...
Okay, I need to put it with these... Yeah. What the fuck, man?
No, that was the mindset that caused a lot of problems back then. But that was written somewhere where it was like, if you know how to do it, you're
really what that means is if you know more about the subject than your DM does, you can pretend like you know what you're talking about.
Yeah. But that aside, the system was open, and the idea was just go do stuff. Go interact with the world. Of course, back then the idea was more, go find ancient ruins and plunder them for fat loot, but isn't a bad thing.
I know it's not. As far as investigations go, they can still be run. It's all ran through roleplay.
It is all ran through.
So,
which isn't
what
a
are
bad
some of the
system.
elements you imagine that you need if you're creating an investigation? First off, you need the thing that's being investigated, the subject. That doesn't necessarily
you need
to be
the
a crime.
subject.
It can be, you need to figure out where this map came from, or anything that you know there's a piece of knowledge you do not have. You need to get to that knowledge, and you have some starting path or some understanding of where to go.
Investigation can be multiple things. So even if it's not a murder mystery or crime investigation, like you were saying, I think after you've picked your topic, you need to decide how many scenes it will take to get to a conclusion.
Again, going back to the tropes, like the investigative, the Dick Wolf tropes.
Yeah.
There's always a scene where you find out that, there's a secret, like a secret twist here, but that twist isn't what you think it is. You'd have to go through, and I'd have to actually really analyze things like Law and Order or things like that. But there's a formula.
There's a formula there, but in general, I would say pick a number of scenes. If you're doing just an investigation with no other in-betweens, like no fighting or no...
like at all, one location, one night, over the course of hours in real-time play, or game-time play.
In that case, I think you don't need more than 4 or 5 scenes. I think that is like your sweet spot for a number, right? With the lore one, like you were talking about, like maybe they're trying to figure out something about a map. I think that in that one you could still do 5 scenes, but
Passively.
in that one the scenes are spread out because maybe in the first scene they find out if they found the clues that they needed, which you never want to leave them completely without the ability to find a clue. Unfortunately, this isn't a real life investigation. If you don't want that investigation to fall flat and be lost, you have to give something to move it forward.
Yeah, because in real life, there's things called cold cases.
Yeah.
And there's a lot more than you'd imagined. And so, you kind of want to make sure that you...
So, go ahead, sorry.
Oh, no, please.
The 5 scenes, I think, is your sweet spot there. And I think per scene, you should probably put 3 or 4 pieces of evidence. And the reasoning behind that is not just they might not find a piece of evidence, but let's say that the party finds the first piece of evidence and it's interesting but not hyper interesting, and then they find the second one, which is a really juicy bit of evidence. They might spend the next hour and a half talking about that piece and then talk themselves out of that piece being worth anything.
Yeah, that's again, as a DM, I would suggest that you have an idea of what the start and end goal thoughts for your investigative scene are, and then when they get where they need to be with that orc stack, etc., like move them. Okay, they got to the conclusion they need to. Oh wait, somebody right then attack orc stack. Boom, like let's reset that thought. They'll have that. They'll remember where the conclusion came.
That is actually good. That's a good tool for any moment where you're finding a stall. But back to the investigations, the other big thing that you need, even though you've set up 5 scenes, let's say that scene 1 can lead to scene 2 or 4, but they hook into that one that leads to scene 4, but they're missing that piece of evidence from scene 3 that'll bring them to the end. Don't feel like you're stuck with leaving that piece of evidence there at that other scene. Just figure out how it can incorporate over. As long as you have 1 or 2 pieces that can kind of fluctuate through anything but maybe the first scene, that way that meat part still has, no matter where they go, you can go, okay, I need the bloody knife to be here.
But why?
Yeah,
as long as you can come up with a good why.
If you can keep up a why,
yeah.
And if you're setting it up in advance, you can do that, and it's not going to become this cumbersome process.
In 5 scenes, it's almost as though your investigation becomes this 5-room dungeon. Where it's like, okay, what do we need? We need the opening scene. The crime has been discovered, whatever it is. Like, say, if it's an investigatory crime, the crime has been discovered, or the map has been discovered. So the first thing that we give you are who is this person? The basic information about the way the crime took place. Basic information.
The first room of a 5-room dungeon presents you some sort of a guardian or blocker. So what's blocking you from moving forward?
Maybe you're missing the piece of evidence.
Maybe the blocker is a missing piece of evidence. Maybe the blocker is literally you aren't part of the town guard, so now you have to find a way to get past the town guard just to get to the evidence.
Which if you were going to do that, if you're going to build a blocker... Okay, so people know at the end of a dungeon is going to have this treasure. At the end of the we're in the dungeon for a quest. We're here for a reason. If you're not investigating for a reason, either like somebody hasn't sent you to investigate, or like, hey, the cops are investigating this thing, but I need you to find out what's really going on because I think the investigation is going to be bad. If it's not something like that, and you just put a blocker in front of the event, like you really have to find a way to let them know there's something good on the end of this. There's something worth investigating here.
You have to make that hook so juicy.
Yeah, there's no way they don't bite it.
Even though you built 2 walls in front of it, they're going to find a way to climb, break, or bypass that wall by any means necessary.
And then it just becomes a gathering. So what are the other things we have in a 5-room dungeon that would end up being...
Your next step is either a puzzle. So after they get past whatever's
discerning
blocking
the first
them,
bits of evidence they get,
or it's a fight. So they've discerned the first bits of evidence, but the people who committed the crime have been paying attention.
And now they're coming back.
Now they're coming back after you, which might not be a traditional D&D fight. It might just be them...
that's another thing, like I was saying before. How many people run sessions where you're in a city?
Urban...
No, I'm just saying, usually we go to the tavern, we go to the market. When was the last time everybody split up? You know they say never split up, never split up? when you're in a dungeon, right? Don't split up. That's how the party dies. Don't split up. Not one person ever goes into the big-ass city and goes, don't split up. Why? Well, because Jim can get jumped by 3 thugs in an alley, and then Jim's dead.
Yeah.
But no one ever attacks you. No one ever jumps you in an alley in a city. There's no random encounter chart. Anybody's like, okay, well, let's... Oh, what happened?
Actually, that's something we've discussed here in the last week. The lack of random encounters. And a random encounter, a lot of people think random encounters just have to be fights. Literally, the merchant with the broken... Or the farmer with the broken wagon in the middle of the road, which means you have
and you mentioned it. And it's a quest line, and they don't know about it yet. Here's a random encounter.
Yeah. That could be that could be it. An injured animal that doesn't need to be killed could be it.
Somebody who's looking for help at the church to get food from just outside of town. And it's not a pre-built quest.
No.
It's like, oh no, this list of random city-related... can happen in any city.
Yeah.
And their role-playing and their action. Like you were saying, most random encounters automatically combat. When really it's just anything that can happen. Yeah, everything. I mean, technically, if you wanted to, that guy's wagon breaks down, you stab him in the face.
Yeah, you could.
It could be combat, but
anything could turn into combat in the game. But the point is that usually when I look at a random encounter chart, be it from a wizard's module or even something that someone else created, it always seems to be combat encounters. The most promising one that I found was Curse of Strahd. They had a couple of non-combat random encounters. There's one where you can run into like townsfolk scouts, and they aren't aggressive to you once they realize you're not a monster. And then they're like, oh yeah, we're out here risking, dealing with vampires and werewolves and crazy crap because Farmer Bob's daughter is missing. And that's an opportunity for you to join in trying to find Farmer Bob's daughter. On the other hand, you could just decide, screw these guys.
You could be like, well, you see 3 people through the mist in the distance. It looks like they're slinking. And,
the description of it is pretty ominous. But the thing
and then it's like, okay, I let loose my arrow through the thing, and I shoot the dude in the face. Okay, well, you come across the bodies of 3 normal humans that you just murdered in cold blood.
Yeah, in that one, I think they have like 3 or 4 non-combat encounters on their list of, I think, like 18 or 20, which actually...
It's almost the setup, though. Really, if you think about it. With how often all the random encounters have been combat encounters in D&D, in the way D&D books have come out, it's almost like they're setting the characters up to be like, they're normal people, but you don't know it, and you're going to kill all of them, and then you'll feel really bad about it. Ha ha ha.
There are a lot of... Yeah, no, I mean, in that one, it does feel like a setup, but in a lot of the produced content, and because of that produced content, a lot of the personally made content, murder hoboism is the norm.
Yeah, I'm not a fan of murder hobo.
When was the last time... And I know I haven't done this for y'all in a dungeon, I don't think ever. When was the last time you came across a cavern area, and as y'all are going through fucking shit up like you'd expect you're supposed to, and then you walk into a tavern, a hobgoblin tavern.
Yeah, in the middle of it, you're like, wait, what the fuck?
Wait a minute. Like,
I've been killing hobgoblins for 6 months.
Yeah, I've been
down here. They have a civilization with like people, and we have a democratically elected, chieftain. Like we're trying. We have a library. We just opened last week.
Finding out that there's a picture hanging on the wall with your face on it, wanted dead or alive for murder of civilians.
Like civilian murder, child murder, and you're like, oh my god, I'm a bad person. Like,
it's not something that's very often presented, so it's.
Well, I mean, it's so to the point that like. I don't know. When I look at D&D, I'm not a fan of high fantasy. And so when I go to D&D and I look at the high fantasy stuff, to me it's all just inspirational. Like the Akakroa, right? The bird people, right? They're not intelligent, not like to civilization levels, right? They don't have libraries, and they're not sages that study stuff, and they don't have schools for their children, and they don't, right? They're wild bird people that are like tall as a man and then probably do the same shit birds do.
I think... I don't know. They've been represented in different ways. That's a problem.
Oh.
The ones that are... The ones that I believe have been presented in 5th edition, which is in the Tomb of Annihilation. They're more of the barbarian type bird people, the tribal. Although they have sages, they're not sages in like the written. They're more of an oral.
Do you have
based.
shiny stuff?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then I've also seen them played or written as more modernist. Not modernist in the context of our modernism, but like
they have
on
electricity. They have sewage plants.
No, on the same level as like what humans for the setting are. The biggest difference they don't.
But I'm saying, in my mind, you can do that with anything.
Sure, you can.
Like, and if somebody says, "Oh, that doesn't make sense," it's like
it doesn't make sense.
We're in a
them.
high fantasy world where there's flying dragons and fairies and the Feywild. Like, what do you mean it doesn't make sense to you that I made it so that the
reason
zombies have a city and they still talk and they keep each other alive? The reason it doesn't
make sense for that particular person, whoever it is because they have bought into one presentation of that race. If I told you that hobgoblins were living in
trees,
in
tree houses,
in tree houses like elves, and they respected nature, and anyone who cut down trees was an enemy of nature,
then I would imagine a hobgoblin by looks that was like dressed druidically, and in a treehouse.
But some people wouldn't be able to separate the standard trope of goblinoid, the sacking, pillaging, and that happens. There is a presented trope. If you told me, by the way, I was going to use a evil race. By the way, there's a Sagine in the city. If that's all you said, you didn't give any other clarification, I would be like, what the hell's going on in the city? Why is there an evil race in charge and in control of stuff, right? Like, this is not the city, and then after the fact, if you came in and were like, oh, actually, they're good people, they're aqua farmers, and they're, traders, that's something you might have wanted to front load,
Yeah, unless you've already seen Sagines in the world as bad creatures. And then I'm just showing the players that these particular ones aren't that. Now, which they would uncover slowly.
Now, again, if I haven't seen Sagines, my character has no concept of that race at all. And you go, oh, well, there's this fish person, but you see him out there farming a kelp farm. That's all you need to tell me. Yeah. That doesn't mean that he's good or bad. That guy might still turn around, throw a trident right through my throat. But if you just say, here's this race, and because I played D&D for long enough, and you say the name of a race, if you say Yuan-ti, if you say orc, you say goblin, there's an image. There's an image that's instantly
connotations. Yeah. But I think you can play outside of those kind of things.
Oh no, you can.
And I think it's very interesting.
You have
when
to
you
present it though.
Yeah. Like for instance, the Sagine thing. If your character had never seen a Sagine before, then yes, I should probably be like, yo, bro, this Sagine that we're doing here is a bit different than normal Sagines. They're like this. If your character's already seen Sagines, and they're the normal Sagines, they're evil creatures and blah, 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 and this time I'm showing you Sagines and they're not evil, I don't front load that.
No,
I just tell you,
at that moment you're doing it for a different
reveal.
reason.
I'm revealing it to you and the character at the same time.
But the problem is, since I've already seen them as evil,
you're probably going to
have a higher chance of becoming a murder hobo. So
when I build that, I have to, if you murder hobo an entire city of Sagines instead of just walking the fuck away.
Well, no, not the entire city, but let's say I come out. Again, this is an aquatic race. We should have picked something a little different so it makes it easier. Okay, let's just go with the goblin.
Well, no, it's Sagine. But you're in the town, like you're on a coastal village and there's Sagines in the water and they're on the dock sides and they're amphibious, right? I'm assuming.
Yeah.
Okay, so they're all over the dock world and all that, and that's the city. It's a dock/harbor area, and you didn't know this, and you were sent here to go do something, and you show up, and the first couple people you see are different types of commoners of different races. Because, especially near them. Okay. And then you realize, the Sagine run this. But you just saw all those commoners. They're not killing everybody. They didn't kill you.
I gotta ask, is my first experience in seeing one of them, just seeing one individual one...
You know that them as a race are evil creatures that kill people.
I know that part. When I'm in the town, my first experience seeing them in the town.
Like you're walking through the market. There's tons of different commoners and this and that. There's a Sagine behind one with selling out some fish.
Oh, there's a merchant.
Yeah, things like that.
I could see
because it's still a city.
I can see
have all
where
the things.
A murder hobo might have a problem with that, but I've constantly when I'm playing the game. I mean, you remember in Damien's game, we saved that freaking knoll. Knolls are almost
Irredeemable.
Irredeemable. If you're following standard lore, they are almost entirely irredeemable. And I think it was a fight. Was I a fighter or a paladin? I don't remember. I was like, no, you're young enough. We're bringing you up right.
Yeah, we're gonna.
That was my goal, and
we're gonna raise you.
Yeah,
like
I constantly did that. So I can't say I would attack, especially if it's a merchant. If it was a
there's merchants in even evil cities.
Oh, there's merchants in evil cities. That's not the problem. I'm saying if the dude was walking around with a trident, fucking, bumping chests with people, I'm not.
So what you're saying is like you see a Sagine merchant, and then like you see some other Sagine, in a group of people talking, and you stop in the tavern, you have a beer, and there's like a fucking Sagine bartender and a couple other people, and you're like, I'm feeling a little freaky, and then you walk out. And you're walking past an alley and you see a Sagine with a trident, and he's like pushing somebody up like a commoner, like a halfling up against the wall, and he's about to stab him with a trident, and you're like, I knew these guys were evil, and then you like go to murk that dude, you murk him, and you find out he's a city guard, and then a halfling actually just got like hurt somebody.
I unfortunately no, depending on the situation, unfortunately, that right there,
it's probably
I might actually.
I knew I was right about them.
Yeah. But that's a problem. That if you're setting that up as a DM, it's not a problem. If you're setting that up as a DM, you're building it for that specific reason.
Yeah. And hoping that the player will let that affect the player, the character, rather than be pissy about it.
And if your player allows it to have the emotional and mental effects that it's supposed to have.
Yeah.
Because if you accidentally
murder an innocent
guardsman.
You should, if you're a good character who would normally have a problem.
If you're a good character, you're going to have lots of issues.
You should.
If you're a neutral character, you should still have problems, but
it was a choice you made.
Might be able to more easily clean your hands of it. If you're an evil character...
Well, that's how the cookie crumbles.
You probably just made a new ally.
Oh, yeah, hey, what's up with you, halfling? What are you in here for?
Yeah.
Well, what do you mean? You said, well, you probably wouldn't have interfered anyway. You'd have been like, ooh, that Sagine's doing the evil thing to the thing. I wonder if I can jack him and then I can steal both their shit.
That's also true. You might, depending on what type of evil you are.
Chaotic.
Neutral or chaotic.
He was wearing turquoise, so I decided to stab him.
See, that's the thing. Lawful Evil, I think, a lot of people will hate on Lawful Evil, but I think it's the most playable
Lawful Evil is the most evil of the evils.
It is the most evil, but it's also the most playable because
everybody thinks chaotic evil is the most evil, but it's not.
I don't know. Chaotic evil is the most
wrongly played.
Oh, definitely wrongly played. Because that's the thing. If you're chaotic evil, you might murder someone outright.
You might just do it on a whim, honestly.
On a whim, but the thing is, if you're sitting in a room, or let's say if
survive.
You're sitting in a tavern, you're sitting inside the tavern and you see 5 city guards. Even if in your mind you go, I could probably murder all of those city guards plus this person. Why would you put yourself through that risk when you can wait until this person finishes their drink, goes outside, and then you can drag them into the alleyway and gut them?
Yeah, and then like if 20 minutes passes and this guy doesn't leave yet, you just leave. Because remember, you can't just be lawful all of a sudden when you want to get your kill done.
Yeah.
Like, no, because I've seen that before. Chaotic evil character wants to kill this guy because the guy pisses them off. So what does that character do? He makes a plan on how he's going to kill him. Okay, if you're going to stick and adhere to the fact that you have to be evil and that you want to kill somebody in a whim because you're evil, you also have to stick to chaotic, which means you're not building a plan on how you're going to come about doing it.
It depends on what you mean by plan.
No, like I'm going to leave, I'm going to go home, I'm going to find out where this guy lives, I'm going to follow him around, and I'm going to do this, and I'm going to stab him in the face. No, that's not...
Yeah, that's too much of a plan.
That's too much of a plan.
On the other hand, I'm going to go outside and take a leak. And if he walks by,
if he walks by, I'm not going to wait for him, but if he walks by... But the thing is it doesn't play out that way. It's, I'm going to go out and take a leak. I mean, I really want to kill that guy. I'm going to go out and take a leak. Oh, fuck, he just came out, and he's walking by me. This is a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And that's how the chaotic in my mind works, because it's like, no. I know what I wanted to do, but the opportunity showed itself, so I'm going to do it. Like, I have a list of wants, and I'm going to do whatever one's opportunity shows up. If it doesn't make sense to you, yeah, it makes sense to me, because I wanted to do this, and the opportunity arose. And I feel that's scary. But back to the investigation. So we have this chaotic evil character, and he stabbed somebody in the face in an alley behind a bar, because that's what we just went through.
Yeah. We spent a lot of time setting that up.
And so the things that you can look at are in our case, chaotic evil, right? Chaotic evil, right? So let's see. How would you make that into a good story? So if the chaotic evil guy kills him for no reason other than the fact that he's chaotic evil, like we set up, that's the actual motivation that is true.
Yeah.
I would say that's not interesting enough.
No.
But
really
it's what happened. So instead, you go, well, he is chaotic evil, but he also happens to be a member of this order. So now, when the characters find it, they don't go, he did it because he's chaotic evil and he had a whim. They go, he's a part of this order. The order must have had some kind of reason to. They start piecing together these other things. You can build. You can
definitely direct it.
And once you have your city built, and you have all your orders built, and you have your campaign area built and set up, you understand how you can link these motivations together to make it look like any kind of investigation you want.
I guess when we were talking about the things you need to build the investigation, setting should have been first.
Yeah,
because without a setting, you can't do any of the other stuff.
Yeah, so like where is the murder? So it's really like almost like a news article, like where, what, who, why, when, how.
I mean, that's really the questions you ask when setting up anything. When you're building your villain for this arc or for the whole story.
Where, what, who, why, when, how.
Yeah, those questions.
What? Where, when, who, what, why, how?
Yeah, it feels like a tongue twister. My
Where, when,
brain
who, what,
is stumbling
how.
over it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure I'm actually missing one of the W's.
Yeah, but asking those questions gives you the bare bones outline you need to start filling in the pieces, filling in the meat. And then once you have a little bit of the meat, because you shouldn't, like we said at the very beginning of this, unlike a TV show or a book or anything like that, you want to have that meat, but you don't need it point by point by point. With a line drawn between, because you can't guarantee.
Yeah. You can't. Okay, exactly. Like you were saying before, you can't go. Oh, they're gonna find this, and then this is gonna happen, and then they're gonna find this, and then this is gonna happen, and they're gonna find it here. They're gonna find this here, and this is how this is all gonna be. It's just like any other campaign. When you set up a quest line, if you build like let's say you're a starter DM, and you build up an entire area, and your players walk to a different place, you can just take what you've built and find a way to slot it over to the area that they're at, as long as you can find the whys as to how that makes sense, or adjust it or modify what it is that you're presenting in order to make the link.
Yeah. So let's go back. You had the idea of trying to build out the Chaos Alley murder, right?
Yeah.
So
Chaos Alley murder.
Chaos Alley murder. That's what I titled it. So following that 5x5 paradigm or the 5-room dungeon thought process, right? Yeah. So our first area either is a puzzle or a blocker. I think the first area should be a blocker.
I like that idea. Like, so, there's a dead body. There's an investigation around it. You're not allowed in the area, but it's somebody important, or you know what I mean. Like they know it's somebody important, or there's some interest for you to.
I think the first step is very clearly you can kind of see over the guards that someone important has died. A noble. Someone in noble's clothes.
How about this? That particular noble was a noble you were supposed to get a quest from when you arrived.
A friendly noble.
Yeah, you were supposed to show up, and you were supposed to get you were supposed to protect him. Your quest was to protect him, and to get some information from him on where you needed to go next for something else, for some larger quest.
The guards are your blocker. Very clearly, you can see that he's dead, and you can't get close enough to do a medicine check to see what kind of wound. You can't do an investigation. You're not close enough to investigate the scene.
You're not able to cast a spell to talk to dead.
You're not going to be able to cast the spell to talk to dead right now, but that's something we could put in a later scene. Your friend of the noble, you might be able to see the corpse later.
Oh, I didn't say. I just meant like you were sent there from somewhere else to protect this guy. That was your quest, and you failed before you showed up.
Oh, okay. So you're not going. Okay. So no access to the corpse.
Like he has information you need. You're supposed to talk to him. So really, by the time you talk to Dead in that, it can be at the end of the quest.
It could be.
The end of the quest is when you finally get a chance to get next to his body because of the investigation being solved, which allows you to talk to Dead, which allows you to get the information you need for the other quest. So that's the hook. That's why the hook, because you need that information in order to get to the larger quest.
So our first scene is the alleyway. What other pieces of information would you want to put there?
Well,
so you've got the dead noble. The guards are stopping you. Very clearly, that's your blocker for that scene.
yeah, and so you need to know and establish who that guard system's being run by. I would say that has to be developed. At least one NPC character that represents the guards.
So,
If not,
yeah,
like, two.
NPC for the guards.
I would say NPC eyewitnesses. I would say at least 3 in the immediate area that may not have good information.
I don't think they should be here. I think that's scene 2. I think that's scene 2.
Well, I mean, like tracking them down. I was going to say that in the area right here, there are people, like 3 different people, and each of them give this a little bit of a description that's different than the other 3.
No,
and then scene 2 is a verifiable eyewitness that didn't come forward to the police that have seen something.
See, maybe. I think that the 2 are unverifiable plus the verifiable is all scene 2 at the tavern.
Well, isn't that the inside of the same area?
No, your first scene is this entire outside.
The tavern alleyway.
3 pieces of clues.
Yeah.
It doesn't even have to be the tavern alley. It could be 2 or 3 blocks down from the tavern.
Well, how would you then know that that's where there's going to be people that have information and
because
usually when
this is
usually
where we're setting up these clues. Well, police canvass completely differently than city
they
guards.
The scene though. Oh, I was saying like usually the people who've seen a crime are still near it when the unless they ran away before the cops showed up. If you have any eyewitnesses of something, either that or like you show up and you look around and maybe you can drop hints of like, oh, actually, if you look, the second floor of the tavern, just on that street, overlooks this alley. Maybe someone over there has seen it. Like something that links that area to the area for the eyewitnesses.
I think where we're having a separation of thought process here is I'm thinking the morning after the murder happened. You're thinking right as the murder has happened.
Yeah, I'm thinking like they just cordoned off the area. There's a big hubbub, and there's a handful of people.
I don't know. We're talking about 2 different sets of guards. I'm talking about Bumpkin City guards from D&D. You're talking about modern police investigators.
Well, you're saying Bumpkin City guards. Why not big-ass metropolitan city guards that actually do have a procedure, and I don't see why they wouldn't. They did in medieval Europe. Like, maybe not the same exact. Sure I guess they don't cordon off stuff.
I'm sure it's not cordon off and canvass the neighborhoods.
Well, I don't know. I mean, let's say some guy got killed in their house. I'm pretty sure they're going to make sure no one else goes in that person's house to start just jacking stuff.
They're definitely going to try. I mean, look at the Jack the Ripper situation. It wasn't until, like, murder 2 or 3 that they had cops all over the street. So... The thing is, you're thinking very, very modern police. And
I'm thinking investigation. I'm just thinking like...
If you're lucky, a large town might have 2 investigators.
D&D is beyond time.
Oh, yeah, it is beyond time.
So, like, yeah, maybe not technology, but maybe.
No.
But
you're right.
If a civilization's been around for 2,000 years, you think eventually they get around to... Or again, high fantasy. What is it supposed to actually be? Because in my mind, an investigation could be that. It could just be as easily as it is 4 guys that just sit around.
So I guess that's again, we have to go back to setting before we can start anything. Because I'm envisioning guards who really aren't investigators. You're clearly thinking of practically modern police force.
The guards might not be that, but they'll cordon it off for the magistrate who comes and is supposed to look at the thing.
Like they might cordon off the alleyway.
Yeah, like you can't get in. That's what I'm saying. You cordon off the alleyway.
That's
you can't
as far as I thought. You were like cordon off the neighborhood. And I was
no. Cordon off the area around it, and then there's a hubbub, and people show up, and then there's talk, and in the crowd, you overhear this one guy look at the other guy and go, I saw who did it, blah, 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 blah. I swear to God, there's this guy, blah, blah, blah.
Okay. No,
and then you get a couple misinformations out of it. I like the idea of looking at getting an investigation roll. Oh, you succeeded. Actually, what you notice is there's some eye lines that come into this alley from here, here, and here, and there's your quest seeds for like your next areas to get.
Your next areas to go to. I can kind of follow.
So what's your scene 2? Your scene 2, you said tavern. I
was thinking for this first one, we figure out a way to send them either to the tavern or a place like you were thinking, somewhere that has a clear line of sight.
Well, that's what I was thinking. Like second floor,
the idea was this first area really is only going to give you the fact that your friend is dead. The guard who might say where the fuck he came from, if they know that, which they might not, so I don't know about that.
Or no, like he'll probably tell you who the person in charge is going to be if you wanted to get access to this. Like you can't talk to me, you got to talk to Magistrate Blankety Blank. That's when no one comes out until Magistrate Blankety Blank tells us they can.
Yeah, so and then
which gives you a ton of opportunities. Heck, you might bypass the whole 5x5 or 5-room dungeon by disguise selfing because you already know what that magistrate looks like, and then you just walk past.
Yeah, you could do that too.
And you go speak to the dead, and then you get exactly what you need, and you abandon the quest. And I would still give you the quest points for that because it's a pretty clean way to do it.
Well, for me, definitely that. But for me, I think most of this first scene was somehow either finding the information without bypassing the guards, or bypassing the guards via magic, or disguising themselves with a literal disguise kit, or just literal manipulating their way through.
Yeah.
And
But
then
they have to find a way
getting
to
the
get
evidence
to the
out of the
next
area.
step.
And then my next step in thought process was leading them to the tavern as one of the possibilities where they could talk to people who saw him at the tavern. And that would be a couple people who were like, oh yeah, no, we saw him playing cards. One person with that liked cards and who he interacted with. One person, the cards person might mention someone he had a disagreement with. Another person might mention another disagreement. And then you get a third person who's like, yeah, well, not really this, but that. Now you have conflicting information which can lead you in three different directions.
He was 6 foot tall and he was this.
Yeah.
And no, he was 5'4" and he was this. And no, I saw this guy that was earlier before them, and I think that guy was hiding there. But whatever. And then when if they do get access to the body, you can put something on the body that's helpful to send a message. I would like you said, restrict Speak Dead. Speak Dead kind of ruins the whole.
Well, no, you can't. You don't restrict Speak Dead. See, if
no, I don't. And restrict the ability to do it by not giving the opportunity in the first place.
Oh, slow the process of getting to the body.
Yeah, I think the last step would be you get to Speak Dead, because you're not here for the quest of who murdered this dude. Your actual quest is get to this dude, protect him, and get him to tell you where to go.
Yeah.
So really, the treasure for the investigative thing is Speak to Dead. Is an ability I finally get to use on this dude to go find out where I have to go, or I get access to his body and it has a thing on it, or I get access to this body and it had a key on it earlier. I finally figured out and got to his house, and now I got the information I need, or the thing I need.
That would be a good way to do it. Because here's the thing, even if you can speak with dead, if the guy that's dead never saw the person who killed him,
he won't be able to tell you.
It'd be like,
I was stabbed in the back. It really sucked. I was taking the piss.
Someone with a big, strong hand grabbed me by the collar and then shoved a knife into my stomach 20 times. I don't know anything else than big, strong hand.
And what you don't realize is it's a mage. He had like a
used
stabbed with a dagger.
Big B's hand.
And so what you don't realize is the guy's actually 2'8".
It's
and
a little
straight 6.
It's a little gnome.
So now you never find them.
Telekinesis.
He's a really big hand on my shoulder. Whoever it was had to be giant. And meanwhile, a Goliath gets put up, and he gets the electric chair over it. And
electric chair?
Yeah.
So they built a metal chair that a bunch of people
mages
would
stand on the edge of, and they just shock and grasp at the same time. And then it just,
that's where I went with it.
yeah. But it's wrong guy. Which is why there's and there's a lot of protesters out in front of the ancient medieval high fantasy courthouse that have signs that say no more death penalty.
Yeah, I think that I didn't even think about applying the 5-room dungeon to this until you mentioned it.
Yeah. So what's the next? Have
your second one is either the puzzle or a fight. For me, I was going with the tavern where the puzzle would be piecing together the information from 3 or 4 different people. So you give relevant information throughout all of it.
But a lot of it are wrong. This bit's wrong, that bit's wrong, that bit's wrong.
Eyewitnesses suck.
And then what you do is later you give, this is verifiable evidence, so is correct. Which part of this story fits in?
The room 3 in...
5-room dungeon.
Room 3 in a 5-room dungeon is the setback.
I thought it was 4. Setback.
Was 4 setback or was 3 setback?
I believe 4 setback because it's like the fake fake end or whatever.
I have to look it up.
A great resource for making quick dungeons.
It really is.
I just thought, what if you applied that across it to
it's a general idea that can be applied to anything.
Oh, hey, Safka and Tade and all that. I hope you're doing well.
Oh, we got
yeah, 5-room dungeon. Entrance with Guardian. Puzzle or role-playing challenge. Trick or setback is, you were right, 3. 4 is big climax, and 5 is the reward revelation.
Yeah, okay. So the setback. This is where, like you were mentioning before, you could send them down to try and arrest the wrong person. You've set someone else up. Not that the character in question necessarily set someone up, but just the evidence points at this other person, but very clearly after really looking at it, it's not.
And now it's too late because everybody that thinks it's that guy because of what you did, and you get that bit of information that tells you no, that's wrong. So now you got to fight against the tide and a timer.
Yeah.
I like the idea you were saying. So there's some people in the tavern, and they heard you fucking asking questions, and they know because right now the stakes are kind of here. There's no timer. There's no, I can take all day to figure this out. Dude's already dead. I can.
Maybe they're.
There's no danger involved.
Are part of the order that guy who committed the murders from.
Yeah, or somebody else in the tavern was over here, and any one of these things. But then, like you said, next thing you know, you're walking back to your party. Well, you were out here investigating alone. One of your party members is out in the market, and one of your other 2 party members are out in the thing. Here's the thing: you just quadrupled stakes. Yeah. If you send 2 thugs to jump you in an alley afterwards, well, you might actually die. Let's say you're a level 3 character. If I throw a level CR, like a CR1 at you, right, or like a CR1 half, like maybe a CR1 with a minion, or something, thug and thugette. And they both jump you in an alley, and you get 12 HP of damage to you at level 3. Yeah, and you win, but you're like, you just took 12 HP, and you're like, that, I need to find my friends. Like now, there's a tempo to it now. There's stakes now. Like, where are my friends? They might be getting murked too.
Yeah.
Like, we were all here in the alley before we split off to ask questions. Like, where is everybody? So you get to add the stakes. You get to add this timer of, now there's it's got to be done by now, or else somebody's dead. Something bad happens. I like that idea a lot.
Your climax will usually be... See, I think in this one, the climax and the big... what is the last step after climax here? Treasure room, right?
Yeah. Or reward revelation.
Okay, so
where you sucker punch the players, the big fight is over, and it's time to, or is it?
The big fight here could be finding the corpse, so you can get your thing asked. But then the twist at the end is finding out that maybe the order you yourself are attached to, that's the person who did the killing.
Killing.
So I mean,
even though you were sent to go talk to and protect this, so why would they do that? Oh wait, my own order is messing around with us.
Yeah.
Yeah, but the big bad, I would say, the big climax would be the verdict. Now, maybe not necessarily like, oh, you just went to the court and spent 8 months, and
the
guilty.
The verdict being
like
confirmation of guilt, or confirmation of what you've been working on.
Scooby-Doo's crew pulling that mask off the bad guy, and you find out that there's not a mummy, it's just some dude who wanted some property value.
If you're looking at a treasure map, learning that it's real or not real, figuring out that your treasure map is a part of a series of treasure maps that will lead to the true treasure.
Yeah, the good thing. What you want to put in is the good big thing is what the big climax is. Yeah. So, but then you sucker punch the players. So imagine if you got the good big climax. You kind of got to be fair. You can't lie to your players. But then the big reveal is that actually that guy, even though he is guilty here, why was he guilty? Oh, well, he's being blackmailed, but if he didn't do it, then they were going to kill his kid.
That could lead to
some other thing,
deeper
some other
plots
twist.
or deeper twists, yeah.
And you still got the information you need, you still got all this other stuff, but now you also have this, rug got pulled a little bit. At least I got that treasure from the dead guy's house, because that helped pay off.
I got the treasure.
Helped take that sting away.
You're not a murder hobo, you're just a hobo.
Yeah, I'm just a hobo. I just want to squat in a house, man.
Oh man.
And how did you? Well, the noble died. I'm just here. What do you mean you're here? It's not your house. No, I've been living here for 6 months, and I got a sword in my hip that says it's my house. Now you want to get going or what?
So yeah, now that you've attached the 5-room dungeon to it, which I think it was great, I got to thinking about it after you mentioned the investigation that could lead to another investigation. You know where my brain went on that?
What?
The 5x5 grid.
Oh yeah. You can make out an entire campaign concept just based on investigations, almost like a pin board. Like, imagine if you were investigating a whole mafia.
Yeah, like a grand scale, a mob investigation.
A mob investigation, yeah, exactly, like spy things, which is actually really neat, because imagine if, were you in the game where you ran the gang members and then they came back and they murked your friend back in the hometown, like you guys had left and you left him at a bar somewhere?
No, I wasn't running that. I was playing.
No, I'm saying you were part of that.
Yes.
Okay, so that situation, where now you're uncovering all the bits and intricacies of the other gang. You're figuring out where they make their money from. You're figuring out who they used to kill. You're figuring out where the stash is for the weapons.
No, that would have been really cool, but the problem is that I was playing the leader of our gang, and I was a very physical, militant-minded The character was. So it wasn't, let's investigate and figure out.
There's nothing wrong with Brick Smash'em being the mafioso Don, as long as Brick Smash'em's consigliere is like,
Yeah.
you know, planny McAdvisor.
Oh, actually, his consigliere wasn't, but the person underneath, I had two, like, social powerhouses under my second in command. The problem is the second in command kept getting into unnecessary power struggles with people that weren't trying to take his power.
This is for the family, for the best. I'm sorry. You're no longer consigliere. Well, fuck you. I can
How are
I
we
can
looking
do
on
this.
time?
Oh, we are at 2:07, which we started about 1:10. So
Not
you know, we're
bad.
better at that.
So,
Yeah, I wouldn't mind looking at that, like an entire campaign of investigation where the combat is. It's not
Like,
you're going to the dungeon to uncover the treasure. It's you're uncovering this whole thing, and what's the treasure at the end of that? It's the power network is yours.
All I'm thinking right now, right, is you have a solo illithid, one that's broken off from a group, from its hive mind, so it's solo. And your investigation is into the interconnectedness between the Thieves Guild, the Smugglers Guild, and you end up finding out as you're going through this investigation, it's actually...
The Don is an illithid.
The Don is this illithid who literally has been running the entire because he needs to continuously eat brains. And how are you going to do that without outing yourself? So having all of this network of crime literally serves that purpose.
I like that idea. I want to make one image real quick. So, Joe Pesci gets a phone call, you know, and he's getting driven to this room, and he thinks he's about to be a made man. And they tell him to go in, and he opens the door, and the room's empty, and he goes, "Ah, fuck me." And then an illithid just from the back goes, instead of him getting shot in the head.
It's the, oh, fuck me, and then all of a sudden you see tentacles just slap down over the face.
Yeah, instead of the gun to the back of the head.
That's great.
Ah, fuck me. like he's...
Alright, guys, so this has been Coffee with the Bullcritter's Corner. I'm Steve.
And I'm John.
And we're going to sign off for the day. Y'all have a wonderful Friday afternoon.
Yep, you have a good one. Hope you guys tune in next time.
Bye.